Daniel Ricciardo is eagerly awaiting news about his future within Red Bull's Formula One team.
The clock was ticking, so to speak. I was able to do what I know I'm capable of, so...
And he's expecting some clarity now that this weekend's Singapore Grand Prix is over. While Ricciardo hasn't revealed all the details yet, fans are on the edge of their seats, wondering if this was the last we've seen of him in the Red Bull colours before the season wraps up.
It's going to swallow up by the pack, and down the inside goes Daniel Ricciardo!
And that's exactly what we'll be talking about today. It's no secret that the world of Formula One is fast-paced and unpredictable, and Ricciardo's next move could shake things up even more. After losing his spot at McLaren at the end of 2022, Daniel Ricciardo, the 8-time Grand Prix winner, wasn't able to let his Formula One journey end there. Fast forward to midway through 2023, and Ricciardo made his big return to the F1 scene with AlphaTauri, Red Bull's sister team, which by the way is now simply called RB. From the get-go, Ricciardo made it clear that his eyes were set on the prize, getting back to the senior Red Bull team, the very team where he raced and made a name for himself between 2014 and 2018. However, things haven't exactly gone as smoothly as planned. Ricciardo's form has been a bit of a roller coaster this season, leaving him in a tough spot as he fights to secure a place on the F1 grid for 2025. Meanwhile, young talent Liam Lawson, currently Red Bull's reserve driver, is making his own bid to step up and grab a full-time seat. So, while Ricciardo is battling to stay in the game, Lawson is hot on his heels, ready to make his mark. While chatting in Singapore on Thursday, Daniel Ricciardo hinted that we should expect some clarity on his and Liam Lawson's future after the mentioned race. He said when it comes to contracts, the timing is pretty much now, suggesting that some big decisions are just around the corner. Meanwhile, Ricciardo's teammate Yuki Tsunoda has already secured his spot with Red Bull for next season. Over on the main Red Bull team, Sergio Perez is also locked in for another year, sticking by Max Verstappen's side. So the pieces are falling into place for next season. We just have to wait and see where Ricciardo and Lawson will land in the mix. In the past few weeks, Red Bull's motorsport advisor Helmut Marko has dropped hints that we can expect more information about Liam Lawson's future leading up to the United States Grand Prix in Austin, which runs from October the 18th to the 20th. The buzz right now is that Liam Lawson might have a big decision on his hands. If he doesn't land the full-time race seat for 2025, he could be free to leave the Red Bull setup entirely. But that's not all. Before we even get to 2025, rumours have been swirling regarding the Singapore Grand Prix. There's talks that Lawson could step into a race seat and potentially replace Daniel Ricciardo before the year is out. After all, Ricciardo has only managed to score a single point in his last 6 races. With things heating up, it's looking like Lawson's future could take an exciting turn sooner than anyone expected. Daniel Ricciardo is primarily focused on what 2025 has in store for him, and he's expecting a clear decision about his future to be made soon. He knows that's the main thing everyone's watching for, whether or not he'll get that full-time race seat for next year. However, he's also well aware of all the speculation and whispers floating around about what might happen during the remainder of this season. There's been plenty of talk, especially with the way the last few races have gone, but Ricciardo isn't letting it distract him from his ultimate goal of solidifying a spot for the long term. During his time in Singapore, he admitted that at the moment, he doesn't have any inside information about immediate changes or surprises. He's mostly in the dark about whether anything drastic will happen before his season wraps up, but he's not stressing about it too much. That said, Ricciardo is no stranger to the unpredictable nature of Formula One. He's been around long enough to know that things can change in the blink of an eye. Crazy things have happened in the sport before, and no one is ever truly safe until the ink is dry on those contracts. While he feels fairly confident that he'll stay in the car for the rest of the year, he's also smart enough to not make any bold, overconfident declarations. Red Bull's top brass, along with its shareholders, are gearing up for some important discussions between the Singapore and Austin races. They'll be diving into their driver lineup strategy, not just for the rest of this season but for 2025 as well. It's crunch time for the team, and everyone's wanting to see how the decisions will play out. On one side, you've got Helmut Marko, a big advocate for Liam Lawson. He's been singing Lawson's praises for a while now. On the other hand, Christian Horner has always been in Ricciardo's corner, wanting to give him time to rediscover his form and get back to his best. Lawson made quite the impression during his 5-race stint for Red Bull last year when he stepped in for Ricciardo, who was sidelined due to injury. He really made the most of his opportunity, showcasing his potential. However, despite his strong performance, Red Bull decided not to promote Lawson to a full-time seat for 2024. Instead, they opted to stick with their original plan, keeping Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda as their driver pairing for AlphaTauri. There's also been plenty of talk about Sergio Perez's place in the team, especially after his mid-season dip in form. The rumour mill went into overdrive with speculation that either Ricciardo or Lawson could be promoted to replace the Mexican driver. However, Red Bull ultimately decided to give Perez the chance to finish out the season, sticking with him for the time being. Daniel Ricciardo has been given a pretty clear message from Red Bull. There won't be any major changes for the rest of the season, and he should just focus on getting through the second half as strongly as possible. The team wants him to treat these upcoming races much like the ones leading up to the summer break, which he's acknowledged were some of the most critical in shaping his future in Formula 1. When asked if there's any chance Singapore might have been his last race in F1, Ricciardo seemed fairly confident it wasn't the case. However, he wasn't about to make any guarantees either. After all, Formula 1 is known for its unpredictability, and Ricciardo, being the seasoned veteran he is, knows that anything can happen. He's been in the game long enough to understand how quickly things can change in this sport. Ricciardo's cautious optimism comes from a place of experience. He knows that drivers have been replaced mid-season before. It's not a new phenomenon in F1. But for now, he's focusing on what's in front of him and taking things one race at a time. The rest of the season is a crucial opportunity for Ricciardo to prove he belongs, and he's not taking anything for granted. Ricciardo's journey back to F1 has been an emotional one. After losing his seat at the end of 2022, he took a step back, making no immediate plans to return. He wanted to see if his love for racing would naturally reignite, and it did. His passion for the sport came back stronger than ever. A test drive with Red Bull brought back flashes of the old Ricciardo, the Grand Prix winning speedster everyone remembered. This reignited spark led to his eventual return to the grid, giving him another shot at doing what he loves. However, Ricciardo's goal has always been more than just getting back into a car. It's about getting back to the front of the pack, where he belongs. For him, it's not just about being in F1 for the sake of staying on the grid. If he can't be in a competitive seat that allows him to chase podiums and wins, he's not interested in hanging around just to make up the numbers. At 35, with years of experience and multiple champagne-soaked victories under his belt, he's not content with running outside the points. He tasted the glory of being at the front, and anything less just isn't as satisfying. Ricciardo has been having those tough conversations with himself, recognizing that if a competitive opportunity doesn't come his way, he's not going to jump at any offer just to stay in the sport. He's at a point in his career where he values quality over quantity. If Red Bull doesn't offer him a seat, he's ready to walk away, knowing he gave it his all. For Ricciardo, it's about finding the right balance between his love for racing and the reality of where he wants to be in the sport. If the opportunity isn't there, he's at peace with stepping back and saying goodbye on his own terms. That's all for today. So, what do you think? Will Daniel stay or will he have to go? Let us know in the comments below. And if you like the video, then please subscribe to our channel and stay on the lookout for more similar content.